So yesterday while we were working on our color walk, I got inspired with the little still life that accidentally happened with the yellows and purples. And so with my handy guide here, I've already done a lot of the hard work figuring out my colors. Uh, I will go right to it. I also saved my paints from yesterday's exercise, and I've put some of them out on my palette as well as new fresh colors. I have a brown, let's put it here, a brown. So that's kind of a burnt sienna mixed in with some other colors, a deep rich brown there. So, and I've got some yellow ochre type colors going. So I'm not going to bother putting out the three earth tones, but I did put out all my primaries, and I have all these pre-mixed colors to work with. So today I'm just going to do a quick little still life. I'm working on an 8x10. I've set up this little portable easel. I could work on a tabletop too. So here we are, the blank canvas. How to start a painting. So what's exciting me here is there's this beautiful light coming through the vase. I've put it on a white background surface. And then the background, I've actually used the back of the Bristol pad, which is cardboard. So I've got this kind of brown background, which will help bring out the colors. So normally in oil painting, we start with the dark colors first. There's a couple of ways you can start. I'm thinking I might treat this more like a watercolor and just start with very light colors. Watercolor is just the opposite of oil in that you start light and go to dark. So the thing with the, I don't want to use a whole lot of white because it would be hard to get the darks in. So with that said, I want to just get where my vase and flowers are in space. And how much do I want to include? Notice I already decided that this is a vertical, a portrait orientation. And I think we're just going to go, I'm going to grab a little bit of a neutral lavender here. And just kind of give myself the rough shape of the, and that's actually even darker than I want. I have these, even in one day, these flowers are starting to wilt on me. So I have these beautiful little dead petals that are what a painter will do, to show the passage of time, to show mortality, leave some dead petals. So I may put those in, even though that was an accident. And here the flowers kind of go over the vase, so I'm not going to put that shape in there. And I'm looking kind of like top down. So I've got this shape here that I'm seeing pretty good. This is the, I've got this ellipse. And you might find it's easier just to do the full ellipse like that. Now if you notice, I'm working pretty thin, this paint. This way, if I need to wipe it off, I can. And then this is that edge of that little vase. Then I've got my flowers. I'm not going to put the gray in there because that's where I'm going to want some really bright color, and I don't want to go in there yet. So I'm just going to leave that. It's going to look pretty abstract at first, and don't worry about that. That's the nature of painting. It is an abstraction of reality to begin with. Some people get more abstract than others. And I'm just going to close this off for myself here. And then there's this interesting, it's in the background. It's emulating this shape here. So I'm going to put that in. And glasses can be tricky, but just think, it's transparent. It's going to show what's behind it, but in muted colors. Right now I'm putting this really interesting shadow or just roughing it in. I'm not getting real detailed. There's also a bit of a shadow here because the way I have my light set up. you want to be careful of your lighting when you're, especially when you're doing any painting, but a still life lighting will make all the difference. So speaking of which, there's a nice big highlight here, so I'm going to leave that open. And here, I haven't added any paint on my brush for a long time. I'm simply pulling out what's already there. And I'll show you in a minute how I can even wipe stuff out and get to things that way too. I want to be careful and leave some of that brilliant white there. So until as you work on a painting, it evolves and it gets more concrete. It comes out of the chaos and becomes a painting. So don't expect it all to come at once. You will get lost from time to time, and that's okay. Don't worry about it. Okay, so that's roughly my vase. I brought out a nice clean rag for the painting. I'm going to take all the excess paint off now, and I can just move what's around there, and just so I'm not seeing the white, because that white, I want to leave the white for what's really going to be white. Okay. And this, I'm using the paint very thin. There's actually some really nice, interesting things here too that I could use a smaller brush, but I don't want to get into any detail yet. Right now I'm getting in the major shapes. Okay, so I may leave the brush alone and grab another one. Notice this was a round brush. It comes to a pretty decent point. It's nice for kind of drawing with your painting. This is a filbert, and filberts are one of my favorites, more versatile brushes. I recommend you get a couple of those. So now I will start with my really dark, which is that beautiful green that we mixed up yesterday. If you remember, it was the two yellows. So I'm mixing up. I'm using this basic green here, and then I'm using the two yellows, and I'm grabbing some. There we go. Getting this really nice, deep, rich green. Now, it is further back, so it's not going to be quite as dark. You know, the eye, we see things, sometimes we have to kind of push what we're seeing. It's not going to be as dark as it might really appear, because we want to create the illusion of space, and to do that, we do that with value and intensity of color. Okay, so I'm just getting this basic, now this is a big shadow. I'm going to push a little more blue on that. And it's going to pick up a little bit of that lavender. That's okay. That's why I chose that color. And so I'm getting some interesting shadow reflections going on. And I might do that. I might simplify it. It's kind of a silver. So I've got this black and white actually mixed up from the value study we did. And I'm just going to use that. Again, I save all my paints. All right, and that's good enough for now. I'm not going to futz with it right now because I have to get everything in. Now this other leaf has some red in it. And as we know, red and green are complements. So if I mix them, it's going to turn brown. So I want to be careful and place this color next to it as much as I can. It's also got this really beautiful, interesting vein. So I'm going to leave some spots for that. And I'm going to pick up some smaller brushes in a minute. But the whole idea is you work from large to small. You get in the mass, you mass in the shapes. And the sable brushes are actually the easiest to clean. So now I picked up a new brush because I'm going to go straight in with that beautiful bright yellow, and I'm just going to use it straight out of the bottle for now. And I'm going to stay away from up there for now. I'll come in more carefully. But here, so this flower overhangs here, and then it overhangs here. Again, I'm not going to marry up to the lavender yet because that's going to gray it out, which I may want to do, but I want to keep my options open. So I'm just massing in the yellow. It's like, okay, that's where yellow flowers are. I'm not going to go really crazy. Okay. And in general, with oils, you're not going to get as much detail as you would with something like watercolor. If you really love to work in detail, I recommend working more in watercolor. Okay. So there's that yellow. Let's put in a little bit. There's this beautiful little pale. It's the remainder of this begonia that's kind of fallen apart. And it hangs over here. You know, I'm paying attention to my composition too. Notice how it's not all bunched in. I'm have everything kind of a little asymmetrical but balanced. A little bit of a diagonal. It's all part of the interest. And it's this beautiful salmon color, really. Let's see if I can get to that here. I think I'll add a little bit of the white. And just put those leaves there. And actually, a little bit of the crimson, I think, might help push that a little bit. So you can see what I'm doing. We've mixed a lot of color together, but getting these beautiful little delicate, and I could come back with a smaller brush too, but I'm just placing those there since I have that color going. And now that lavender. So if you remember, we took quite a bit of time with that one purple, and I happen to remember that it was cerulean. I'll get this green off. I'm going to swish it in the dirty first. Excess off, swish. And then I have some clean there. I'm going to dip it in there. So I'm going to take the cerulean and crimson, and I'm going to put another blob of white out. That other white I'm going to keep for the orange yellowish whites. This is why I put a couple of blobs of white out usually on my palette. So this one here can become for my purple lavenders. Okay. So you can see what I'm doing over here. Okay. And I'm working fast. I'm not overthinking this. Now that's a beautiful color. If I add just a touch more of that crimson, I'm going to get pretty close to that one flower, that petunia that is already fading. Now it has a really beautiful dark, and I know when I first started painting, for whatever reason, a lot of us beginner painters hate to push the dark in the light. And I don't know what that's about, but the best results are going to be if you can push those contrasts. It's going to be that dark pushing against the light that's really going to give you some excitement in your painting. Okay, so I've got that in there. Now I can go straight, take some of that color that's in the center of that one petunia and pretty much use that for the other petunia. And again, it's going to have some different values. It's a little late. This one overhangs the vase. And you know, that color is just so much deader than it is in real life. So I think what I'll do is push it towards the crimson a little bit to liven it up. And if I wasn't doing a beginner demo, I would probably pull out a purple out of my many purples, reds and blue combos, and really get that hue more close to what I want. But this will do for now. Now, also, you'll find that by getting different values with color and adding different color, just touches of it, not blending a lot sometimes. Now there's that big deep hole in the middle. I'm going to go in, I'm going to start using a little smaller brush. This is a boar's hair round brush, pretty small. And I'm going to pick up just the crimson. Well, actually I got this dark, beautiful violet mixed up already. So I'm going to put that dot right there. Oh, it's bleeding on me a little bit because I had a lot of thinner. And again, I'm going to establish that. And I'm going to go back and say, I'm going to put a dark in up there. And then there's this interesting dark there. And I might go, you know, like down here, if I put that purple right next to the yellow, that's going to help that yellow sing a little bit. Let me get that a little bit more lavender. Also, you know, we're seeing things through the vase. I'm seeing some greens. There might be some reflection of color on there. Okay. All right. So we pause for a minute. Say, okay, how we doing? Is this looking okay? This might be a big mass up here. I might wipe that away, or we'll see. And I'm also seeing that petunia extends past where I have it. So let me get that in there. Okay. All right. I'm trying to mix up a sweet lavender here. Now I'm dipping into the ultramarine. Color is king, so. All right. I want that a little purpler because I wanted to play against that yellow of that one petunia. And you'll find working from observation is a little trickier than working from a photo because we're working in 3 dimensions. Photos already flatten things for us. So you may find it easier to take a picture of your still life to start. It's okay. You know, it's all tools. There's no cheating. So you might find it easiest to do that until you develop an eye. Okay, I'm going to very carefully touch into next to that yellow. Again, I'm not blending. If I did, it would turn into mud on me. Okay, try to get this shape, this beautiful shape of this petunia. And I'm picking up now just some white and some crimson to give me a little bit of a difference and to get that highlight. It's all the play of light. And it's hitting, the light's hitting more here, okay? And again, the beauty of oil is I can go back and give myself, go back over this if I'm not satisfied with it. So let's see. I've got the petunia pretty much in. It can come out a little bit more, carefully touch in the edge of that yellow. and this shape's pretty good. There are more highlights than I have here, so I might just go straight in with white. It's got a little bit of the lavender mixed in, and give myself that sense of, and I'll come back and blend that. Okay, so here, okay, what was going on here? I probably need a little more petunia there too. So let me go pick up that lavender. Okay. All right. Then what I'm seeing, let's go back to a different brush or pick out a different one. Let's see. You might find it more expedient to just load up different brushes with different colors. Certainly for demo, it pays. So I'm gonna take some of that beautiful, luscious, deep green and put it right here. I'm seeing that that leaf really actually goes to here. And it probably does not go up that high. So what I can do is scrape that off, take my palette knife, and just scrape. Now because it's straight on the canvas, it's going to be a little stubborn, but that's okay. I can make that part of my background later. Or I might even make that part of my background now, just to give you an idea of how we make that work. Okay. And then the leaf kind of, maybe, let's see. You know, we're designing as well as painting here, so I want this more like this kind of line. So, and I want it to come off that tip of that petunia. Okay. And I'll use a small bright. And I'll use the edge. Now I'm going to go in. I've got this nice bright green mixed up. I think I'll also just add a touch of this kind of yellow. It's already mixed in with stuff. And it might be brighter than I want ultimately, but it's going to mix in with that dark color, and I will be blending it eventually. So this I'm going to put up. Right now I'm just covering the white. I'm going to use that and there's some excess paint here, and I'm just going to pull it down with this bright. This is a very short, stiff brush. Now, because I'm working fast, there will be a certain freshness to this painting, which would get lost if I was really overthinking it. So, again, there's no judge or jury with the painting. I'm going to pick up some of that blue. And again, I'm touching to the edge of the yellow. Okay. And I'm looking as I paint, because I'm trying to paint what I see. It might wind up looking pretty abstract, but that is what we really see. You know, we try to make sense out of it, and so sometimes we don't. You know, we don't. We try. Our minds try to make sense, so we define it, and it's not actually what we're seeing. All right, now I'm going to take a clean brush. I'm going to take some of this cad yellow, deep, and I see this beautiful little serrated edge on this one leaf, and it's going to help liven up my painting too. And it actually goes like that. So that's my edge right there. And then it's going something like that. And I don't see it so much here, but I will touch in here and there, and I can always come back and blend. Okay. This leaf doesn't have it. Now, I want to differ these two leaves, so I can use this serrated orange edge to come in here a little bit and say, okay, this is part of the begonia leaf. This is not the prayer plant leaf. Okay. And there's some beautiful undulations here too, which I can come in. I'll give it some thought as to what I need to do. But first, I think if I put in the background, that's going to help define this painting as well. So as I mentioned, I've got cardboard in the background. And now I'm going to pick up the filbert, which has lavender on it, which is fine, because I'm going to dip it into some of that brown here. And I'm going to give myself, I'm going to take this bottle white. The trick is to make an interesting background, but keep it so that it's not grabbing our attention. Now, the first thing I need to do is get rid of this green leaf. So I'm going to let that come in. Now, between what's on my brush and everything, it's getting to be more of a lavender. So maybe what I'll do is take this bit of a mixture and come back. And if I put some yellow into what's going lavender, complementary color will cancel that out. Now I want to slow down a little bit as I come down in here. The trick is I want to get rid of the white of the canvas, especially because I want that beautiful little piece of light to really stand out. And that's only going to happen with contrast. And this is still kind of big, so let's get rid of that there too and just smush that color up in there. It's going a little green, so if I want, once I figure out what I'm doing, I can color correct. But right now it's a pretty neutral color. It's working okay. The other trick is, where's our light coming from? We don't want the background to be all the same. A little trick in still life is you can have dark against light. So here I'm probably going to choose to have the darker bit of background. I'm also going to choose to push it to the lavender again because it's going up against that yellow. So it'll be a brown, but it's going to be going towards the lavender brown. And I'm not going to get too close. First, I want to make sure that this is the color close to it anyway, before I spend a whole lot of time. Now here against that orange, I could push the blue a little bit, because that's going to help set that orange off and create this kind of excitement. The Impressionist painters really push the complementary color usage. Okay. So I think that's going to work if I go dark, and actually that's going to help to set off my little jar here. I'm going to just quickly dip into my clean, just with the very tip of my brush, because this paint is kind of stiff, and I want to keep it moving around. I'm just covering canvas now, and I will go in and very carefully, because I don't want to pick up yellow quite yet. I will at the very end, but right now I want to keep the yellow out of my nice lavender. So here we can pick where the table ends, or we can have a horizon line. Well, let's have it here so that this dangling leaf breaks that horizon line. So that would carry over to here too. So that means here I'm going to start lightening up. So what I can do is take my clean rag. I can find it. Oh, I'll use this dirty one for now. And I'm just going to go right on that canvas and rub. Fingers can do a lot. Rags can do a lot. A lot of my paintings I take away a lot. It leaves it in spontaneity that you just don't get with the brush. Okay. So you see I'm getting this beautiful light lavender there. And I might just do the same thing on the other side. Pick up a little bit more lavender. And you know what, I'm going to put a little bit. Now here, it's a little more orange, so I'll just push it a little bit towards the blue. See, these are just real subtle moves. Still staying in neutral. And again, I'm going to just dip into that clean real quick and move this painting. Get it this thin wash that I can come back in and wipe off. And maybe I'll just keep going. The thing is, I want that shadow. That shadow is going to have to be darker than that. So let me take this color while I got it going. And I'm just pushing around what's on my brush now, just to cover up that white of the canvas. Not a whole lot of paint on there. And again, on this side, I'm going to go in because, again, I want that shadow color to be a little darker than the surface. So you see I've left this little white line here that's really bringing that vase to life. And I might find I want to wipe this out even more. Doesn't have to be a huge difference between the background and the now I went darker there, so I'm going to make it lighter over here. And we've got that purple flower, so I'm actually going to push the yellow over on this side a little bit and go make it lighter with a little bit of yellow in here. And I'm using my mixed yellow. I'm not using pure yellow. And I already have stuff on my brush, so it's all blending in. Getting kind of a green. And again, I can go back and color correct, and I can change anything. This is just really getting in the basics, because you know, those flowers struck me, and they're already getting past their prime. So I'm just doing this very quick study to remind myself of what I'm seeing. So let's see. We could put a little yellow over here to lighten it up. Now I am going in with my pure yellow. And remember, yellow lavender neutralizes. So I get the sense that that beautiful summer begonia is lighting up that part of the table. And I'm doing all this lightening without white. I'm adding a little interest in color while I'm at it. I've used very little white so far, actually. And it's going to be interesting. These little petals have little shadows. I don't really want the yellow over there so much. So I'm going to stop by not bringing it over. It's a pretty complicated shadow I'm seeing over here. I'm trying to figure out, oops, let's see. Well, you know what light has that yellow? Let's see, let's leave that in there. And then it's got this beautiful little shape here too. Now I can come back with white. This I'm just kind of, this is helping me figure out where things are. Okay. And keeping everything uniform. Now this shape goes behind here too. So to combine it all, let us know that it's all together. And then it's actually doing these other little arcs this way. And let me give this a little color here so that the white stands out. And then there's a little bit of a shadow, a little bit of a triangular shadow there. And let me get that over there. Now, take a breath, say, okay, what's working, what's not working. See if, number one, I like the composition. I'm going to keep moving. There's some things I may want to change, but I'm going to keep moving and get in these greens here that I'm seeing at the bottom of the vase. That's a little dark. Let me pick up some lighter green. And I can just kind of mix that in with what's there. Leaving just a tiny bit of edge there. And we're seeing through the water. And then I'm going to connect that up with some other leaf stuff to separate out these begonias. There's some leaf action there. There's some leaf action here. Again, I left this white so I could come back with that green. And there's some leaf action right there. And there's actually a yellow petal there, so I'm going to leave that for now. The water, it's not going to be so clear, especially the second day. I have my basics in. I can push my darks. Again, I worked really lightly, so it's not a big deal for me to go in and reestablish things. If I'd gone in with heavy paint, it would not be easy to do. So I'm going to stop here for now. I got a lot of things in. There's a certain freshness. I don't want to overwork it at this stage. Everything is really wet, so I'm going to let it dry a little bit and come back to it to do. And you will see the results of that in Still Life Part 2. Please join me there.